on the PlayStation. Screw it. You are listening to the beautiful, harmonious voice of Owen Adams, and with me is the troll underneath the bridge, Jonathan Cadotte. How are you, sir?
I'm doing
I can really hear myself.
well.
You're doing well. Do you just mean
Yes.
that you are having sex with a source of water?
You know it. I need it that wide. Nothing else fits anymore.
There was a really, really strange joke.
You know
But-
what? I've sort of just accepted it at this point. You're gonna make strange jokes, and I have to recover the podcast. So
Of course. Well, I see
It's
that
my
we are in
birthday.
fact live. I don't think we have anybody in the chat yet, but hello to all the people who will no doubt be in the chat in a moment. How are you doing? We are doing episode 103 of the Those Aren't Biscuits podcast. This is the bit before the show where we have the thing streaming, but none of this will actually be in the final episode. I hope.
Right, yeah. I mean, you're the editor, so you decide.
I might just put this in and none of the rest.
It's like I like how he's asking me. He's like, is this gonna fuck if I know?
Let's see how I sound. I know I sound pretty terrible in here, but I can't hear my own voice. I've managed to unmute it while you're talking. It's terrible. It's really bad timing.
There you go.
Okay, I sound a little bit echoey, like I'm recording from the toilet bathroom, but recording from the bathroom, but there's a reason for that.
Are you in the bathroom?
No,
You sure?
very. I'm in my lovely living room.
I mean, that could be a bathroom if you really try hard.
I'm in the Golden Adams Studios recording facility. Known
Is that what you call
for
it these days?
known for the Elvis Christmas album, the Chipmunks anti-racist protest album, and the Edward Furlong rock covers album. One of those is a real record. Actually, two of those probably are a real record. I'm pretty sure Elvis did a Christmas album. But have you ever heard
Yeah, I
Edward
think he's done
Furlong's album?
multiple.
You ever heard?
No,
Oh,
I
it's
haven't.
great. He does a version of People Are Strange. It sounds just like that. It sounds exactly like he did in the film Terminator 2.
Oh, good.
But singing People Are Strange. Very, very big in Japan. Only released in Japan. How about
Well,
you talk for a bit,
what-
John. I've been talking a lot. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a lovely afternoon here. We had a little bit of snow earlier, but nothing serious.
Nothing you had to crack out the Blizzarator for?
No, the Blizzarator is sheathed and preparing for when it's really needed.
When you say it's sheathed, it makes it sound like we're discussing something else.
Only to you, man. Anyone else is like, oh yeah, he's talking about a weapon. You're like, funny.
I love you too.
No, no, it's been a pretty mild day. The week's been going by okay. There's a little weirdness that happened early in the week, but I'm not at liberty to talk about it on the podcast. Sorry, everyone. Teaser.
Fair enough. Have you been appointed to the State Department? Is that are you
Well,
filling one of
if
the
I
gaps from the big State Department purge?
If I had been, I think I'd be well and within my rights to talk about that, since it feels like that's the only thing that's coming out of the Trump administration lately is these big reports about, oh, we appointed this person. Yeah, but what about all the other stuff you're doing? Alternative facts.
Yeah, how's Trump's first week going for you in Wisconsin?
Well, in Wisconsin, we're not really being affected too much by this. we do get international travel here, but it's not like it's not exactly a gateway
No.
location.
How are people feeling about it? What's the public mood? Because
It's really hard to
Trump
tell
won there,
here.
right? Like he won the state, right?
Yeah, he did win the state. It's really hard to kind of gauge. It oddly enough, the same people who were very, very vocal during the election about who, they want, Trump supporters especially, and all the reasons they wanted him in, have suddenly kind of not want to talk about it.
Yeah, funny that.
Yeah, I mean, nothing against them really. Like, I understand the predicament of, it shows how people get misled,
Right.
and then they suddenly have to kind of confront the idea of being misled. So I think we're going to get a lot of this situation like Emperor's New Clothes.
Yeah, and then
where
it'll slowly transition to you'll suddenly be able to find nobody who actually voted for him. No, I didn't vote for him.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Oh, I still think there's going to be people out there who are.
Oh yeah, there'll be some, but it's very, very hard to find, for example, British people who will admit that they voted for Margaret Thatcher, but she won 3 elections.
Right. I think it's going to be a situation where it's going to be like, oh, you voted for Trump? Well, it's still better than Hillary.
Yeah.
That's the response. It's no longer like, oh, I'm making America great anymore. It's still better than Hillary.
Right.
And
right. It's better than this imaginary
fine,
worst that we'll never be able to test.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing. And instead of focusing on the issues we're now facing nowadays and some of the horrors, I'm going to say, it's instead of confronting that reality, it's just going to be a case of comparing it with a hypothetical situation.
Right.
And that's the world, I guess.
We've tried to avoid talking too much about Trump on the show, although I think this week it's just been there's too much to let it pass completely without comment, I think. I will say this. I have thoroughly enjoyed watching Sean Spicer come out every day and flail embarrassingly.
He has his own faults and something like that. But man, talk about a rough gig, right?
Right. The first day when Trump sent him out to complain about 3 tweets.
There's not a single thing in the world that would make me want his job.
No. I mean, I don't like Sean Spicer. I'm totally with you. He's not somebody I would admire politically. But who could do that job better?
Right. It's like every morning he shows up in the office and they give him his press release and he's like, "What? What? I have to this is how you want me to explain this?" Okay.
I should get us into the show.
Just every morning, he's just sitting there behind the curtain before he has to go address the press, just like, okay, Sean, just you can do this. Keep it together. You're smart. You're funny. And gosh darn it, people, that's not true.
You're listening to Those Aren't Biscuits, episode 103. Welcome. This is our very third live episode. We are sitting here on YouTube with the live chat going, but you might be listening to us later on at home from iTunes or Stitcher. Episode 102, as we are recording this, is not quite hitting the iTunes lately, but that's because we're still trying to ease our way back into a schedule with this. We've been a little bit disrupted since Christmas, but I think 3 weeks we've been getting the live ones out pretty regularly, which is nice. And we are looking at the chat. I see hello, we've got Orcast in the chat. How are you? who says, "Get Ben Stein. Is he even still alive? He needs somebody who's not emotional." Right. A cartoon character.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like, he has already made some interesting statements about Trump and the presidency and his stances on things.
Well, Ben Stein's a loon, to be fair.
Yeah, he's really kind of doubled down on this, him being kind of a religious person these days.
Well, he had that long-standing feud with Richard Dawkins, didn't he? He made the what was that film called? Evicted, or I forget what it was. Something about keeping intelligent design out of the science classes. He made that movie about that. Pretty terrible film. But before that, he was considered to be, like, he's never been apolitical. He was a speechwriter for Nixon and things like that. But he was just, you know, the guy who wanted to know where Ferris Bueller was. And then that's what happens when you spend so long looking for Ferris Bueller.
I've always been curious about that career arc of his.
Right.
Like, how do you go from Richard Nixon speechwriter to Ferris Bueller's to having your own game show to selling eye drops? You know, I don't get it.
Well, wouldn't it be great if there was some underlying theory that ties it all together? I would love it if tomorrow we learned something about Ben Stein that was just, like he was about to get promotion to a genuine political career after his thing with Nixon, and then his wife was hit by a car driven by an atheist left-wing person who hit her because he had really
with
dry eyes.
So like, never again.
So he's like, I'm changing career. I'm gonna find Ferris Bueller. And then he he does that for a bit, and then he's like, no, politics was where it's at. He spent all those years in denial as the actor who didn't know where Ferris Bueller was. And yeah. No, I think that works.
Yeah, why not?
We should talk to Ben about this.
It's like an Illuminati style conspiracy theory, like along the same lines as like those Poppy videos.
Do you think it was like The Usual Suspects? Like when Ben Stein dies, there'll just be someone there with a corkboard of notes and posters. They'll just put it all together, and, you know. It'll be on the top of his coffin. The man with the dry eyes.
Right, yeah, that's the whole point. Visine, dry eyes, the all-seeing eye. It's the
right. The Illuminati.
I mean, you ever seen Win Ben Stein's Money? There's a giant, like a giant image of him on $100 bill, and you can see the Eye of Providence there. You know, it's been in front of us all along.
I'll be honest, I've never seen the show Win Ben Stein's Money.
It's pretty good, actually. It was pretty funny. I liked it.
Does it turn out when you get to the end that Ben Stein has no money? And he just hands over a moth-ridden wallet?
No, but because like the premise was like you win X amount of his money. It wasn't like you just win his money.
You win all his money. It was a really short-lived show. 3 years later,
People
Ben Stein's
fucking winning.
3 years later, Ben Stein's homeless. He's just got a sign that says, I wish I wasn't contracted for 3 seasons. They keep hauling him in off the road. How much have you begged today, Ben?
We got 10 more episodes to film.
Every day he just gets smellier and smellier. Just got coppers he scraped off the side of a bus. Today, Ben Stein's gonna give you this coupon from McDonald's. Cash value of 0.01 cents.
January. You just see him walking out of a truck stop bathroom, wiping off his mouth. Yeah, we're good for another three episodes. Let's do this.
Walking down the street, you see a man who looks pretty rough. You go to hand him a dollar bill, and he just goes, "Don't do it. Comedy Central will just take it."
Why you give them money? They just spend it on game shows. Yeah, today on Win Ben Stein's Money, you win his fifth of cheap-ass whiskey.
Because he says, "I don't have any money today, but this lady gave me half a sandwich. She didn't want me to spend the rest on drugs."
It's like, congratulations, you won Win Ben Stein's Money. Today your prize is a shopping cart full of aluminum cans. If you turn those into your local 7-Eleven, that's easily $6.
Ben. Win Ben Stein's lunch isn't catching on as well. Come on. Hustle.
Show a little leg, goddammit.
He stood on the street with a cardboard sign that just says, "Beulah, Beulah."
As soon as he starts prostituting himself out, all they want him is that character.
Okay,
like, well, you're going to take it, but you're going to call me Bueller the whole time.
I want you to go into the hotel room. After a few minutes, I want you to ask where I am. I'm not going to be there. Just ask where I am 3 times. And I'll know if you don't.
Because I'm watching.
I'm on to you, Ben Stein.
This is a horrible existence we've just invented for this man. Like, I don't agree with him politically, but, dear God, he doesn't deserve this.
Oh, no, it's still a step up from speechwriter for Richard Nixon.
Which is basically being a prostitute anyways.
Right. Wouldn't it be great if you went into the archives and you looked up Richard Nixon's speeches and they were just Bueller, Bueller, and you're like, I wonder if this was one Ben Stein wrote.
You just look at all the blocks of text and realize they're just all acrostics saying Bueller, Bueller.
And today, Richard Nixon promises to brave new plan to get us out of the Vietnam War. It's known as the Bueller strategy, the full extent of which is not quite understood by the press. Bueller.
Only Nixon could go to China to find Bueller.
Yeah. There's a Watergate joke in there somewhere, but I don't have time for it.
You know, if you think about it, like that movie, that is one controversy-ridden cast. You know.
Why? Who else? Oh, I suppose. Well, okay. Ben Stein is a creationist, sort of. He's not even a creationist. He just believes in intelligent design. I think the poor thing about Ben Stein, the sad thing is, I think he actually got roped in by creationists because I just don't think he's old now. You know what I mean? He just got roped into a controversy he probably wouldn't have agreed with when he was a bit more with it. You know?
Right.
And then, who else? Who else is controversial? Matthew Broderick killed that guy.
Yeah, Matthew Broderick killed the guy. I don't remember.
Killed someone.
But then, the guy who played Mooney, he just got in trouble for molestation or something like that.
Child pornography, something like that.
Yeah. Child pornography, that's what it is.
Wouldn't it be great if there was an underlying fact that drew all those things together? Matthew, you're driving too fast. No, we've got to get Mooney off. We've got to clear Mooney's name.
It's the actor who played Cameron just sabotaging everyone because he thought he should have been the star. He's still bitter about it.
He went and pushed Matthew Broderick's car out of a window and it landed on someone.
It's like the opening of Watchmen. The car just turns to him. I knew this was coming.
You might be wondering how I got myself in this situation.
There's Jennifer Grey at the bottom picking up a broken piece of the headlamp. Today, car died. Jennifer Grey, Journal, 1985.
Okay, and chat says, look at the stream! Yes, I should. My PS4 was actually going into power down mode. I'm very glad I caught that. I will have to remember to look at the stream just in case we're going to power off. That's the downside of using the PS4.
Yeah. So, what have you been up to, man?
Well, I finished watching...
Anything?
Yeah. Thanks to the delay, I can answer that question as you continue asking me the question.
Fun.
Yeah, I finished watching Netflix's series of unfortunate events, which was very good.
And... Oh, was it? Okay.
It was. It's funny because the series of books lends itself to the first few episodes not necessarily revealing how good a show it's going to be. Because I don't know if you've ever read the series of unfortunate event books. Are you up on them? Do you know about them?
No, God, no. I've never even cracked one open.
So there's 13 books, and the premise, the running gag with them is that they all have sad endings, right? So the book opens with, there's these three children, and they're the usual kind of, they're stereotypes, but deliberately so. They're exaggerated children's fiction cliches. There's the very intelligent girl who likes to invent machines. There's the bookish kid who goes to the library and learns all the facts. And there's the cute infant. You know, they're all a stereotype of a type of like heroic child, right? That always wins the day in these sort of books. And it opens with their parents dying in a fire. And they leave them behind this huge inheritance, but the inheritance doesn't become theirs until the oldest, Violet, turns 18. And the basic setup is, in the first book, they are taken to live with their closest relative, which the bank employee who's handling their case interprets to mean the relative who lives nearest. And he is a cruel, abusive crap actor called Count Olaf, who hates them and just wants to get his hands on their money. And eventually they manage to expose his scheme and get moved on, but each of the books takes them to a different location. And each location is terrible. It's sometimes they're nice homes, but they're ruined. You know, there's a book where they find a place to live with a great relative who loves them, and he's murdered. But so each book takes them to a new place. But each time Count Olaf returns in a crap disguise, and the running joke is only the kids realize it's him and the adults can't see it, even though it's a terrible acting role. And it's always really exaggerated or stupid. Like, they go to a lake, and he turns up as basically a comedy sailor. And that's the running format. But the gag in the way it's written is the narrator and the author of the books is himself a character called Lemony Snicket. And the joke there is he narrates these things as if he is an investigator who's been uncovering the story of the Baudelaire orphans. But he narrates it like he himself is brought to tears just to tell you these stories. And it's actually a really clever satire, with the running joke being there are no happy endings, it's a tale of woe. And every book ends with the kids essentially winning, but not really finding happiness or the truth about their parents or anything like that, right? And it starts off pretty simple, and it builds up a more intricate plot as it goes. They are actually really good books. They find a nice balance between younger kids would read it and take it seriously and really enjoy it as an adventure, and kind of older kids and adults would read it and find the satire of it quite funny. The wordplay is quite clever and things like that. And basically it's an 8-episode series. It adapts the first 4 books, and it is really, really strong. Really, really strong. Neil Patrick Harris, who's an actor I like but I don't love, plays Count Olaf, and does an amazing job because he basically has to play one character playing 4 different roles badly, and he does well. He does really well with it. So it's fun. But they do something really clever, and I'm gonna spoil it. I don't know, are you gonna watch it? Are you thinking of watching it?
Maybe. I don't know. It's probably not.
Shall I spoil it?
Yeah,
I
go
don't know.
for it.
If you are interested in watching Series of Unfortunate Events, skip ahead to when we're not talking about it anymore. And I think this is what I want to talk about. It does something really clever in the show where it really plays up this comedy of, you know, the narrator Lemony Snicket, who's Patrick Warburton,
Mm-hmm.
in a great role, saying things like, whenever I read this part of the story, I always have to dry my eyes from the tears that flood down onto the page. You know, he's always really playing up how, you know, sad it is. But they actually do something really clever in that the longer it goes, they actually manage to get past the jokes and tap into genuine feelings. And one of the ways they do this is, in the books, there's never any hint that their parents are alive. And I'm not going to say whether their parents are alive once you get to the end or not, but their parents are dead. That's right from the start. That's the conceit they make. And in the TV series, what they do is they don't take that route. Right from the first episode, the children believe that their parents are dead, but you see these two gung-ho spy adventurer parents trying to get home to their kids, all the while knowing that their kids think they are dead, and they want to get home, and they're trapped in Peru, and they want to go home and reunite with them. And
Not Peru!
Well, they were prisoners, you know? And
Right.
through every episode, you see these kids come home and at times get to close calls with the parents, right? So they'll almost reunite and then they'll get separated, you know? And it goes for a long time. And then it comes to the big point. It's the end of the second to last episode, and the parents are on one side of the door and the kids are on the other, and it's the big reuniting. And when the parents go through the door, they go through into a house that you've never seen before and reunite with some completely different kids. And you realize that for the last 7 episodes, the show's been lying to you. And these aren't the orphans' parents. They're a different set of children's parents in a happier story.
Oh, that's kind of fucked.
Yeah, and then it where the books never maintained any pretense that the parents were alive, the TV show lets you think they are. The TV show lets you go 7 episodes thinking that they've copped out of actually killing the parents. And then, last episode from the end, they drop that like a hammer on you. That those parents are actually dead, that they aren't coming back. And it's simultaneously...
And that's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah. It's so unexpected. And it actually hit me, because those parents, they're like corny super spies, you know? Every time you see them, they're coming to save the day. And I was sitting there thinking, doesn't it kind of spoil it? That they, every time I'd see it, I'd be like, oh, you know, maybe it kind of spoils it that they show the parents are alive. I don't know, you know? And then when they did it, honestly, it moved me. This show that up to that point had been kind of silly. Dark, but kind of silly. It really, it hit me, you know? So, I wanted to talk about that, because it's one of the ways Netflix are taking children's books and adaptations of children's books that are aimed at children and still doing kind of amazing things with them, you know? I think it was pretty great, you know? So, yeah, I've been watching that.
Actually, that actually kind of reminds me of something. Because that's kind of a technique that I like, where they lead you to believe that they're going to take things a different way that would alter the like source material. You know?
Right.
The one I think about a lot is, you ever seen the Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Oh, a long time ago.
Well, there's a bit right at the end. Spoilers if you guys don't know this.
Spoilers for Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, this is Romeo and Juliet is the loving story of 2 teenagers, star-crossed, and who kill themselves at the end. You know, that's how it happens. But they do this thing with the remake, Baz Luhrmann's version, where at the very end, they show Romeo about to take the poison, and at the same time they show Juliet waking up from her sleep, and you get this brief moment, this real brief moment where it's like, oh my god, he's going to change it. He's going to change the ending of Romeo and Juliet for like her to stop him from taking his poison and whatnot. But it just lasts for a second because then he downs it, and they add something that wasn't in the play, which is him seeing her wake up. Right. So like the last moment is him suddenly realizing like, oh god, I've just killed myself for no reason, and then dying.
So they do change it, but the change is not the change you expect, and then turns out to actually be, in a way, not better. I wouldn't say Baz Luhrmann improved Romeo and Juliet, but an interesting thought rather than a cop-out.
Right. And no, it's a great technique. I've been watching a YouTube channel lately called Cinefix.
Oh yeah?
And yeah, and they're really good because they're your typical YouTube channel. They do lists and things like that, but they approach every topic, especially with movies, like film school almost. They really go in depth, and they've been doing their best of 2016 thing, and one of the movies they talk about a lot is this movie called The Lobster, which is a movie that I've been meaning to watch, and I just haven't
it's on
gotten around
Netflix,
to.
and I saw it recently, and I actually really want to watch it. This is the one about the love retreat where you go away to meet your ideal soulmate, and if you don't, you get turned into an animal, right?
Right. Excuse me.
Can't believe we got through that like it was a normal sentence.
Yeah. real standard shit there. But it got to a point where I realized that I don't think I'm going to be able to catch this movie anytime soon. And I honestly didn't know it was on Netflix, or else I probably would have seen it by now.
Well, it might not be on your Netflix. It's on my Netflix. UK Netflix and American Netflix is different, remember?
Right. So I did cop out, and I read the wiki.
I thought you were going to say I watched Cop Out.
Yeah.
I really want to see The Lobster.
Instead of watching this critically acclaimed film that's supposedly taking romantic movies in a completely different direction, I watched possibly Kevin Smith's worst movie. And that's including Mallrats.
I want him to do a Cop-Out Jersey Girl double DVD.
It's just called Target Practice.
Coaster,
the Target
the
Practice
movie.
collection. Yeah.
Coasters, 10-pack.
Destined to be a child's craft project collection.
So you couldn't afford a mirror.
White elephant collection. Just.
It's like that old Simpsons joke. There's a really old Simpsons joke where Chief Wiggum's trying to wire up Bart, trying to put a wire on him to get some evidence on the mob's illegal fireworks selling ring. And as he loads in the tape, he says, Bart goes, "Hootie and the Blowfish?" And Chief Wiggum goes, "Yeah, it's cheaper than blank tape."
That's a shame. I like Hootie and the Blowfish.
It's a great joke, though.
But, so yeah, I read this wiki, and I won't spoil anything, because I haven't seen the movie myself, and you seem like you're kind of interested in it.
Yeah.
That movie goes places. Goes into some directions apparently that, man, if I'd only seen the trailers for that movie, and even with his goofy premise, man, that probably would have surprised the hell out of me. So. But it's the same sort of thing. It plays up on expectations, and so much so that it plays up on the expectations of a movie that's going to mess with your expectations. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean. Because there are
Like
some kind of movies like that don't work. Like, I hate it when you get a film that thinks it's really clever and isn't. Like, have
yeah.
you ever seen I Heart Huckabees?
No, I haven't, but
It prides itself on being this very clever philosophical movie that doesn't have, like, traditional form. And it's just dumb. It's just a really
right.
dumb film. But then there's a similar
You know,
film. Sorry, no, go for it. Speak, John.
like I feel very similar to that about Wes Anderson movies. Um,
Wes Anderson?
it's one of those things. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever actually liked any of those movies that I've actually sat down and watched.
Let's have a look. Let's pull up Wes Anderson and look at everything he's done. Oh, no, I know exactly what you mean. Okay, I will say this. According to IMDb, he wrote the Fantastic Mr. Fox movie, and that's okay. It's one of those things where, okay, here's the great... Oh, yeah, right, I'm looking up the list here, because I couldn't remember. The only one I remembered was Grand Budapest Hotel, and I agree. But, like... Okay, so he did Grand Budapest Hotel, he did The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, The Royal Tenenbaums, Rushmore, like, okay. Darjeeling Limited, that one's okay, actually. He wrote Darjeeling, I don't know if he directed it, but that one's okay. No, I feel the same way. The thing about Grand Budapest Hotel is, that's probably his most recent big one, right? Grand Budapest Hotel. Yeah. Have you seen that one?
Nope.
I've seen the three big ones, right? Life Aquatic, Royal Tenenbaums, Grand Budapest Hotel, and I've seen Darjeeling Limited, right? I would say Grand Budapest Hotel is probably his best. I think if you don't like him and you feel like that's the same thing, I think the Grand Budapest Hotel, I don't think you'll like it, but I think you'd probably agree it's his strongest. It has actually a story through it that carries really well. But it was one of those films that after I'd watched it, I was like, I don't ever need to watch this again, you know? And it won't stay with me.
Yeah. It's a style of filmmaking that really kind of drives me nuts. It's the same sort of thing as... Have you ever seen Garden State?
No, I never have. The Zach Braff one?
Yeah. It's like this... it was like a trend, I guess. Because there was other movies that came out like this. Where... Let's take a character who's kind of emotionally stunted somehow. Or has some flaw to them. And then we're going to put them through a series of events where they meet people who are also flawed, but also eccentric in all the funnest ways. And,
yeah.
And then they're just going to do a series of things that don't make a fucking lick of sense and end the movie without any sort of like catharsis afterwards. And it's like, isn't this a moving picture? It shows the duality of existing in the modern reality and not like shut up. No, like don't get me wrong, I'm all for pretentiousness, you know, like I'm okay with it. I'm okay with that style of filmmaking of being sort of pretentious. I'm generally okay with it.
The thing about pretentiousness though is you can be a little bit pretentious or even not pretentious. You can just be intellectual without being pretentious, but you have to have a purpose. The thing you are being pretentious about needs to actually exist. There needs to be a message, or a metaphor, or a theme, or a conceit. Right. Too many so-called clever films are just a whole load of shit on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, because, okay, so, one of the big moments in Garden State, right? At this point, he's hooked up with Natalie Portman's character, who herself is this manic pixie girl who... is, she's all quirky and fun and crazy. She loved the Shins. And they're going on this thing, and, her other thing is she's has epilepsy or something, so she has to wear a helmet all the fucking time. And he's dealing with God knows what. And they get to this bit where I couldn't even tell you how they come across this person, but they come across a person who has a house on the edge of a quarry, this giant hole in the fucking ground. And he's explained to him how he's like trying to build his ark because he's waiting for the flood. And it starts to rain. And let's just make it all real quirky, because instead of putting on rain jackets, they take garbage bags and put them on. And they walk out to the edge of the hill, or the hole, and just spend like 5 minutes screaming into the hole. Not